Hello everyone, I'm Audrey Padron and I'm the Executive Manager of Fraud and Scams here at Bankwest. I'd first like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land at which I'm located today, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And with today's event being held across Australia in the spirit of reconciliation, I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea and community. I pay my respects to the elders, present and past, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people today. Well, thank you for joining today. We are covering a session on scams and particularly in support of Scams Awareness Week. And today I'll be covering some tips for you, some scams types and how they unfold, as well as some information in terms of what we're seeing with the data as well. My experience has been, I have the luxury of, or the privilege of leading a 24/7 specialist team, and they're very passionate, located here in Perth, and their role is to work around the clock 24/7 to protect our customers from falling victim to fraud and scams. So in terms of today, what I would like to start with is that this is just general information. I'm not providing any advice. And also we do have a Q&A opportunity. So as we go through today's presentation, if you do have any questions, please pop those through into the chat and we should have some time to be able to answer those towards the end. So the first item I'd like to cover off is the difference between a fraud and a scam. And this is very difficult sometimes to understand the difference between the two. But when it's a fraud, it's basically the objective of someone stealing your money where you have no awareness of at all, or that you've actually authorised that transaction. So in other words, you're at home in Perth or Brisbane and someone's managed to steal your credentials on the web and they've used that to purchase something overseas. In that instance, you had no knowledge, awareness and didn't authorise, and so we consider that to be a fraud. That's different to a scam. And when we talk about a scam, that's when it's actually involving an individual. So they could be tricked into handing over money or details or one-time code or actually participating in the scams. And we'll step through that today. And where that's different is that the person is actually participating in it, as opposed to a fraud where you're not actually participating. With a scam, you're actually participating in that transaction and that event. Sure. Oops. Now, in terms of the financial impact, and that's why we've got some of you here joining today, it has a great cost to the community. And the ACCC published last year that $2.74 billion was lost last year to scams. And what we see are the top scam types, and it won't be any surprise to some of you on this webinar, is that the main real pot of gold for criminals is the investment scams, and $1.3 billion was lost to investment scams. That was followed by remote access, and we'll go through some of these examples in a moment, as well as romance, then phishing, and followed by payment interception or business email compromises. You can see that we did have a reduction on the previous year in 2022, but we all acknowledge, as a bank, we acknowledge that we have to work as an industry, that there's more to do, but we also support the whole of ecosystem approach that the government's about to take in terms of launching the scam standard, where social media players, telecommunications, internet providers, as well as banks, as well as community such as yourself and authorities need to work together collectively so that we can build Fortress Australia and make Australia a less attractive target for these global criminals. When we think about how scams unfold, they predominantly, and will be no surprise to many of you on this webinar, is that majority come through text. So you'll receive an SMS. That's really termed as a phishing scam. The next most prevalent is a phone call. So that's usually someone gives you a call, something's wrong with your internet. And then the next highest way that someone's contacting you is via email. Again, it's something to prod you with a link, and it's a phishing email. Then there's the internet, and then social media are the bottom two with how people are contacting you. So previously, decades ago, we would have received that Nigerian letter in the mailbox, or someone knocking at the door to say that your roof looks like it's leaking and it needs to be fixed. Now the international criminal syndicates are using all of the technology available. And that's why we actually appreciate and are really encouraged by the whole of ecosystem approach, because the banking industry alone can't solve this. We all need to work together to, again, create a Fortress Australia and make us less of a target. And part of that is also about educating so that you understand what could look like a scam. So in terms of the scam types, we just talked a little bit about in terms of the lucrative and the dollars that we're seeing at ACCC. These are the scam types that we see. So the first one is a remote access scam, and that's the one where you're sitting at home, you'll get a phone call on your mobile or your landline just to say something's wrong with your internet or your NBN, and they're here to help you. And these ones unfold, usually take about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and they're very charming on the phone. They're your best friend. They'll find out a lot of details about you, and that's where they encourage you and let you know that they're here to help to fix that. And that's where they ask to get access to your device and get you to click on the remote access device, which is like AnyDesk, and that's how that then unfolds. So they really contact you via phone for that one. The next major one, and we saw this we've just released a Safe and Savvy report as part of Scams Week, and 69% of all scams reported to Bankwest last year were phishing scams. So these are really prevalent, and I'm sure every one of us on this webinar today has received at least one or numerous a week. And that's basically an SMS or an email which is sent to you, and it's generally purporting or pretending to be from a genuine organisation, and it has a link contained in it. And the content of that text or email is something that prods you into action to get you to click on and to move really quickly. For example, you've got Coles points to expire, Telstra points that are about to expire. You've got an overdue link toll that needs to be paid. It's of that nature where they want you to click in and move and not think and rush and provide potentially either your name and mobile or even your credit card details and then the one-time step-up code. The threat and penalty scams are another scam that is perpetrated. They're the ones that actually say you've got overdue tax bill, you've got an overdue fine, the police are about to come around the corner, shortly if you don't pay it. Again, that sense of urgency, and that's more of that threat and penalty that if you don't take action, you're going to suffer some consequences. So that's another scam. The next one's investment scam, and I think most of us would be very familiar with those, and these are really prevalent. We saw a 69% increase in investment scams since the previous year, so this is one that we do really want to focus on and educate our customers, because with an investment scam, that usually happens over 3 to 4 months, and so by the time that we actually intervene as a bank and my team have conversations, the customer and the scam victim has built a really trusted and very deep relationship with the scammer, and so it's very hard to convince the customer that it's not genuine because of that long relationship that's been built with the scammer. What we're seeing is that customers are going on Facebook or social media and online to look for investments, and then making contact with the scammer through WhatsApp or online, and they are very sophisticated, and I'll spend a little bit more time, but the investment scams is one that we'll be focusing on in a minute. Job scams. Now this one unfolds, Mel. So we have had some questions like, how does that actually unfold? And then in this time of economic uncertainty, scammers are certainly taking advantage of that. And in some of the situations, customers and community members are being offered roles overseas, whether it's in Dubai or in another country, and then they're being encouraged to advise that they need to actually pay for some licenses or visas or other items that need to be paid before they can actually start their job. And unfortunately, in these circumstances, that's how the job scam. There's no job at the end of that, and unfortunately, these individuals then have also lost money because they've paid over funds to what they thought was going to be a job at the end of that process, which is really unfortunate. Online shopping scams. Some of you may have seen some of these. These really websites that and scammers who either sell on Facebook Marketplace and those social media marketplace opportunities, or also those that take advantage during Black Friday and Christmas. It's not that far away for us, so this is something certainly to be a lookout. The one thing I can say about scammers is they're very versatile and sophisticated, and they will adapt to what's happening locally to the different countries. So that these ones are more prevalent during peak shopping seasons or the Amazon weekend sales. The next one is business email compromise. And the reason we put this in here is that this has double victims in terms of this is where a business has their emails are compromised. They've had a hack in their system. And what happens is the scammers actually have software that then switch payment details to anyone that this business is sending to. So what that means is that you as a customer are paying a carpet layer or someone who's, cleaned you, done your gardens. And what happens is that you as a customer will pay that invoice because that's what's on the invoice. It's come from the company. But unfortunately, what will happen is 2 weeks later, the business will call you and say, look, I haven't received the funds. You've said, yes, I did pay that invoice. That's what you sent me. But unfortunately, in that scenario, the business has been hacked. And that's really the first time we're aware of, and the business is aware of what's occurred. So not only is you as a customer a victim, but also the business, because they've lost quite a lot of money. So this one's actually a really challenging one. So some tips on that one is we may get to it later, but certainly before I pay any new supplier, I'd always give them a call and just validate that that is the actual business that they're paying. We also, as Bankwest, some of you may have already utilised, but we now have launched NameCheck in early June. And what that means is that when you make a payment, you'll be getting a signal or a message in terms of whether that name matches who you intend to match, or that the details don't appear to match. And that's another ability for you to ensure that you're not either making a mistake at internet payment or also falling victim to a scam. And since June, we've had more than 354,000 transactions checked by our customers, and some of you may have already done that. And in the last week, more than 12% of those transactions, we know customers have gone back to click back and check. So again, it provides you the transparency of who you're paying. And then finally, romance and relationship scams. They're probably I would say, the first scams that we would have heard about, certainly in my sort of junior years. They're the traditional relationship scams where they form relationships over long periods of time and then are starting to send money overseas. And again, that's also a very difficult one to get in as an organisation at a bank, my team, to speak to customers, because they have developed a relationship, and it's a very difficult conversation to have and convince someone that they may be not who they're dealing with. So in terms of investment scams, this is the one that I wanted to spend time on because it's the most lucrative for our scammers to hit, and we really wanted to spend a little bit of time of how they unfold and how easy they can unfold. So what the investment scams is, they do take a lot of time. What happens is the customers will be on social media looking for an investment. The ads could be actually fake. There could be celebrity endorsements. There could be a pop-up. And generally what happens is that the person puts in their personal details, their phone number and their name. And then that's when the scammers start that conversation. So they'll use tactics such as fear of missing out. They'll give hope of you're going to get great returns. You'll get returns better than what the banks are offering. They also try and rush you into actually making that investment. They'll be like, oh, we've only got a couple of units left. You need to act now, because again, it's that they do not want you to talk to anyone and actually to spend some time thinking about it. So they do really want to, particularly when they're ready to sort of provide that sort of pressure to get that funds from you. There's also, they'll offer you guaranteed returns, and they'll be really sophisticated in terms of even creating fake trading platforms. So even once you've actually transferred the money to the scammers, they'll create some amazing trading platforms or investment reports that shows you your money is growing, that you're getting the returns. Sometimes they'll have you invest small amounts of money just to give you just to get you earn your trust. And then when you may think, oh, could this really be something fake? You might have been to a barbecue or a dinner and someone's given you sort of pause for concern. You then go back to the scammer and the investment and say, I'd like to withdraw funds, in which time they will let you withdraw small amounts of funds. that's really to just lull you into feeling like this is a genuine investment. And that's when they'll then start saying, and then again, it's just like, you don't want to miss out, invest more, you'll get more gains. And then that's really when the large dollars are then transferred. What usually unfolds is that you're in contact, you can see that they're actually, making great returns. But the minute you ask for those funds to be returned, what you find is that that's when the phone number's no longer valid, you can't get hold of the broker. So that's unfortunately when individuals find out that the investment is actually a scam. It is very difficult I know that's very difficult. Scammers are actually producing amazing collateral that looks genuine. They'll produce brochures, they'll produce, as I said, trading platforms. So what we recommend is it's really important to do your due diligence, seek legal advice, seek a registered financial planner that's separate to the one that they're purporting to be. There's information on the website. It's really important for such large investments to take your time and really know who you're dealing with, because when you're dealing with someone on social media and you've actually never met them face to face, or you've never even spoken to them, they could be anywhere in the world and they could be part of these criminal syndicates that are operating these scam factories overseas. So I've covered the customer story. It was just to really just highlight, and I've sort of stepped through that, and that's really how it unfolds, and it takes months. And the other thing is that once you do fall victim to a scam, these scammers know that you've just lost a lot of funds potentially, and they then come back and offer and pretend to be a recovery firm that's here to help you to get your funds back, but they also need to be paid. So something to be on the lookout is that additional second scam that can come through once you've actually participated in an investment scam. Now, remote access scams, that is, we would have seen that's quite a lot of large lucrative for the scammers. We had in our Safe and Savvy report, 11% of our scams reported were remote access scams, which is much less than the 69% of phishing scams. So we just wanted to spend a little bit of time on the remote access scams, particularly as we are migrating to a digital bank. We really want to arm our customers and really educate how this unfolds. So as I mentioned, scammers will make a call, and generally it's who picks up the call. I'm recommending never pick up a call, let it go to voicemail and then find out who's calling you. But basically they'll call and they'll be they'll ask those leading questions. Is your internet slow? Your NBN doesn't look like it's, as fast as it could be. And those leading questions, you're like, most people will go, yeah, it's slower. Would you like your internet to be faster? They're quite leading questions to get you sort of, talking about it. And then they'll be there to help you, and they can fix it now. And sometimes there's a sense of urgency. Your internet's going to be cut off immediately if I don't help. I need to help you now. And no, the internet cut off. We don't want to be disconnected from the outside world. So they really work on that storyline to entice you. And what they eventually say is, well, in order for me to help you today, I just need access to your computer or access to your phone or both devices. And so what I say to everyone here, and unfortunately I can't see who we've got online, but basically I like to liken it to the front door of your house. We have a lock, we have a peephole to see who's looking. Some of us, even me, I have security cameras, so I can actually see who's actually standing outside my door. I have a deadlock. We have multiple locks on it. So we have that on our phone and our devices. So what I liken to is that when someone asks to get remote access to your device, and if you click to say, yep, have access to my device, depending on what software they're going to use, it's the same as actually opening your front door to a complete stranger, someone that you may not even know or see, and letting them have full access to your entire house. And you're not really knowing where they're going. That's really how I like to describe remote access to a device, the same as what you would be doing to the traditional sort of in-person scams. So what we actually say is that never, ever, ever click on allowing someone remote access. If someone's calling you to say there's a problem with your NBN or your phone or your Wi-Fi, thank them, hang up, and then call your provider. That 20 minutes of just stop, check, is really critically important, because once the scammer has remote access to your device, what they'll do is they're going to say that they're fixing things, but eventually they'll find out about your kids, how many pets you have. They'll be your best friend, and then what they'll say is that, okay, well, now we need to make sure your money's safe, so let's log into your bank account now, and then they'll start asking for step-up codes, and that's really how they're monetizing and getting some funds and pretty much stealing from you, and you're authorizing this as you're letting them through. So this is why it's really important to never ever download or let anyone have remote access. Just think it's like letting someone in your home. So in terms of then phishing, this is the one that hits everybody. And with all of these scams, I just want to reassure everyone, there's no shame in it. It is so easy to fall victim to a scam. So that's why we're encouraging going old school. Don't pick up the phone, don't click on links. But they're getting smarter. I think the Coles and the Telstra points were really quite savvy. Again, they're just leveraging the next versatility on, we're all trying to eke out with cost of living. We need every dollar counts. So points are really lucrative. So this is what you'll see is there's always a link in the text. And again, back to my earlier tip, never click on the link. If you've got Flybuys, you're with Coles, then you contact Flybuys, you log into your Flybuys account. Same with Netflix. There's a whole raft of phishing texts that they're trying to encourage you, and it's the same in the emails. You'll get your Netflix account's about to expire. You need to click renew your subscription here, otherwise you won't have access to Netflix. So again, with the phishing, they're really working out that, they're leveraging and taking advantage of the fact that you're time poor, you're busy. We actually want to do the right thing. We want to actually make sure we're connected. So again, don't click on the link and take the time to contact the organisation directly. As I mentioned, we are investing a lot in some technology to further enhance and really take on the challenges that scammers have. So we've recently launched NameCheck, and this video is just rolling here to show you how it works. And I'm sure some of you would have possibly be one of the 354,000 transactions that we know has gone through the NameCheck. And this really ensures that the BSB and account number that you're inputting in and the name that you're inputting in matches to who you're intending to send. And you'll get 1 of 5 warning messages, and that's on the list. It's like the account pretty much matches. I recently had some work done at my father's house in Melbourne, and I needed to pay for that. I did call the company just to triple check, but in addition to when I went to pay the company, it went through the NameCheck process, and it also validated to say that that company matched the account. So I did a double validation, and it was great to see. When that doesn't match, so in other words, particularly for scammers, what they'll do is with investment scams or any scams, they will say there's someone but actually send funds to somewhere else. And again, it's just to try and, that's how they'll get funds out of the country. So this is a really great way to validate, is that investment broker James, for example, I've just made James up, that James doesn't exist. If James is saying, but then when you input James in and James is not on the bank account, that will then get you opportunity to go, this doesn't look right. We have had an instance where it didn't match and our customer actually stopped proceeding, and it was actually preventing a scam. So this is a really great technology that you'll be able to utilize. And also for unfortunately, the fat fingers, we make mistakes occasionally. So NameCheck is really helpful for us because I have the biggest phone I could possibly have and I still make errors when I'm typing, and it's so easily done. So again, it's another initiative and lots more coming your way. Oops, I think we've just skipped one. I'll just go back. So, so in terms of scam protection and tips, I've shared a lot of information today, and I'll let you know where you can find more information. But the really 4 key things that I tell my parents and anyone that that knows that I work in scams and fraud, the main thing is don't download like the AnyDesk or remote access, and be very careful of the apps that you download onto your phone. The other one is be very careful who you're giving your banking credentials to, and particularly your one-time passcode. If someone is asking for you for that one-time 6-digit SMS code that you get in your phone, that is a massive indicator that you could be involved in a scam. So the first thing we say is never ever share that code. That code is exactly the same as when we had the ATM. Some of you may be aware, some of you are probably too young to remember when ATM cards were issued by banks, but we had drilled in us never share your PIN with anybody. It's the same with this one-time SMS code. So never share that, and it's a really big, strong indicator that you're participating in a scam. The third one is the links. Never click on links. I've drummed this into my parents, and I certainly don't click on links. Even sometimes genuine organisations do send links. I then say never click on the link, because you don't know if you're downloading malware as well, or it's actually then sending you off onto a phishing to ask for information. Stop. Go to the genuine organisation that this communication is coming from, and then validate it that way. That 20 minutes will save you a lot of pain should there be malware and certainly access to your device. The other final one is making payment methods in unusual ways, and some of you may have seen those signs. I was just in Coles yesterday, and I know Woolies, I was on the weekend, is that scammers are tricking people into paying bills or making payments using gift cards, that's purchased either online or through actually the retail outlets, such as Coles and Woolworths. So, the ATO will never ask for payments in gift cards. Companies won't ask for payments in those unusual methods. And the other trigger is when you're making an investment or a purchase, paying multiple people would be unusual if you're dealing with one person. So these are the triggers of actually you could be in a scam, and so that's why it's really important to be aware of what are the sort of ways that the scammers are getting funds. So then on the flip side, they're sort of like the don't ever do, and that could be part of a scam. But on the flip side, how to protect yourself, always protect your identity. Be careful what you have on social media. For those of you that, and we just had a seminar yesterday, we were talking about just handing over information, verbally, your name, mobile, email. It's really important to be careful of where you're putting that information, because if you think about some of the supermarkets that have these forms that put your name and your mobile phone number or your name and your email address, well, all someone needs to do is take a photo of that whole page of 20 people's details, and then they can sell that on the website, and then off the scammers start. Because often people call us and the team and say, but they knew my name and number, and that's the hard part, is that somehow that they've gotten hold of that detail. So that's the one thing we would really say, is be really careful of what you have on social media. Certainly don't have, if you can avoid having your mobile, your birth date, any of that sort of information public that anyone could access. The other one is know who you're dealing with, and this is where it's really difficult. We are now online. We are digitally as a community since COVID, and these international syndicates are operating overseas, and that makes it really difficult. So it's really important you know who you're dealing with, and you can try and validate and really try and unearth and try and understand who you are dealing with. And again, always go to the genuine organisation to then get validation if the person you're dealing with is genuine. Confirm new accounts. This relates back to business email compromise. NameCheck will help if you're making a payment online, because we now have the NameCheck capability on the app and on digital banking. But again, you can still confirm it over the phone to make sure that you've got the right details. And then finally, remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's the old adage. It still holds, it stands the test of time. And while we don't have it on here, I think for me, the important part is don't rush. I think that's the critical piece, is take your time. The ones that really threaten penalty, police don't come around the door for an overdue fine. So I think it's just really take the time, consider it, talk to family and friends, because scammers are really relying on us not thinking and doing the right thing. And as an Australian community, we always do the right thing. We're compliant, we're respectful, and unfortunately, scammers are taking advantage of that. Now, in terms of, I've shared quite a lot of information. Okay, let me just see if it's going to the next. Yes. It's a lot to remember, so we've just sort of popped in here just a little separate ways that, from a keeping alert to it. Did I get the call? Who did I get it from? you know, take a breath, try and get contact the real organisation to see if it's legitimate. But sometimes we know and we get caught on the hop, all of us. So even if you're partway through and you think this sounds dodgy, hang up, disengage straight away. It's never too late for you to take action. So the minute you sense something, and listen to your gut. I think some of us try and sort of like going, oh, it doesn't sound right, but I'm just going to be polite and respectful. Listen to your gut, disengage straight away, and it's never too late. If it's remote access, unplug your Wi-Fi, disconnect from the internet. We also are able to block our cards on the app for additional if you want a security. And then there's other measures that you'll take in place. But all the other important thing is contact. I mean, obviously your Bankwest customers, contact us immediately, because we work as quickly with other banks to lock down the funds. So the faster we can work and get into action, the higher the chance and probability of a more successful outcome. And then, as I often say, I've got the delete as the heading. As I said to my parents, with all of my mum's SMSs that are all phishing, just delete them, and obviously contact the genuine organisation if it's something that looks remotely legitimate. From that perspective. From a cybersecurity perspective, make sure that you keep all of your security updates up to date. Also, if you can, put multi-factor authentication on all your accounts, whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, any of your social media accounts. That just gives it additional layer of security. That means that you have to make sure that you're logging in to your account rather than someone potentially logging in. And then, as I mentioned, there's quite a lot of information that I've shared today, and it's a lot to remember. We do have an amazing amount of information on the bankwest.com.au website in our security centre. Now, whilst you are all Bankwest customers, anyone can access this information. It can be available. So if you want to talk to family and friends, this is available. If you do need to chat to the scams team, you can call through our general contact centre phone line, or we do have our direct phone line through to the scams team. And you can search the Safe and Savvy Guide, and that has some really great information on how to stay scam safe, but also to protect yourself from elder abuse for those customers who are heading to the more senior years, and things that you can put in place to protect your financial well-being. And then finally, the ACCC has amazing amount of material. They also have a subscription, so they can also provide alerts to you of what the latest scams are. And that's another place you can actually check is the ACCC. So if you get a new sort of text or scams, you can pop onto the ACCC because they're really great with sharing information. And that pretty much covers what I wanted to discuss today. So thank you, and we'll just check if we've got any questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap it for today. Let's have a look. Just checking that we don't. The other thing while we're waiting to see if there's any questions, that we have the other technology that we've done in terms of enhancing our technologies, that we've actually locked down our alpha tags. So what that means is that when you receive an SMS from an organisation, it usually is labelled at the top in terms of it's come from, say, Bankwest or Telstra or an organisation. And when if scammers are going to send an SMS, they can sometimes spoof an organisation's thread and then send that message to someone, and the scam message will actually slot into the genuine organisation's thread. And that can happen because that organisation's alpha tag is not locked down. In other words, it's open. Anyone can sort of slot an SMS message in there. Bankwest has locked down that alpha tag, so that means that our carriers are able to block anyone else other than Bankwest from sending an SMS from the alpha tag. So that's another initiative that we've launched, so that when you do receive an SMS from Bankwest or BW Collect, you can feel confident that you're actually dealing with Bankwest. So again, another initiative that we've launched to help enhance transparency and give you that sense of comfort of who you're dealing with. Now, I think we don't have any questions for today. So what I do want to do is thank you very much for taking the time to participate in this Scams webinar and support Scams Education Week. I also would like to thank you very much for being loyal Bankwest customers, and know that we're here to support you through your banking services. And I know we're transitioning to digital services, so we are making those changes, and want to just hope that you all have a wonderful afternoon and morning. Thank you.